Hi, it's Naomi coming at you live from the cottage with, there's a cat there, I know. At some point I'll tell you the story behind why this is the cottage. So I've decided to start attempting some kind of a weekly schedule. So stick with me. Hopefully the channel will grow. If it doesn't grow, hey, stick around. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll teach me something. And we'll have some fun doing it. So these are going to be the political headlines of the week that I pulled up. I use an app that gives me news that is just basically factual, lots of sources. It gives me the right bias, the left bias, the center. If they sponsor me, eventually I'll give you more information, maybe, or it's ground news. There's a free version and a paid version. So let me just go over the headlines we're going to be talking about today. The helicopter that plunged into the Hudson River is truly heartbreaking. The update is helicopter tour company's clearance should be pulled after NYC crash, says Schumer. By the way, I am reacting to these a little bit blind. I have heard bits and pieces here and there from other sources. I've read the summaries a bit, but I kind of want to get a genuine reaction from me. I want you to get that. Peter Navarro denies tension with Elon Musk after Musk calls him a moron. He's not the first one to call him a moron. My 10-year-old son calls Elon a moron. He actually does a Elon imitation that's pretty funny. I love the imitations of Elon on TikTok. I'm sorry. I usually don't like mocking, but mock. Mock the person that sig-hailed and doubled down twice, just to make sure everybody understood at the inauguration. Next, most believe Trump tariffs benefit wealthy corporations. It's a poll. We have Trump optimistic on reaching deal with China, the White House says. We'll get to my feelings about China at some point, and you might be surprised where I stand with that, but we'll get there. Maher, that's Bill Maher, comedian, wealthy guy, traditional supposed liberal, but I don't particularly like him. He went to the White House and visited the White House, and he thought Trump was just an extraordinary, sweet, warm, kind human being. A lot of people are saying he got played. I happen to agree. A lot of people have kind of covered this, so I'm not going to spend too long on it. You can probably find a lot on that. And the measles. Make measles a thing again is apparently the headline here. No, that's not the headline. The headline is, measles exploded in Texas after stagnant vaccine funding. News cuts threaten the same across the U.S. Sorry, not news cuts, new cuts. New cuts threaten the same across the U.S. Okay, those aren't great, but let's start. The first thing I want to start with is this helicopter crash. So let me give you some background. This is truly heartbreaking. So if you didn't hear about it, I'm going to give you the basics here that I know. So it happened earlier this week. The updated from AP News I have is April 11th. It did happen on, I don't see the date. I feel like it might have happened a day before that, but I'm not sure. But it was this past week. It might have been the 11th. So first of all, it was a sightseeing helicopter. This family wanted to go sightseeing over New York, as you do. Can you imagine getting into a helicopter with your family, and it was a child's birthday, and they crashed? 6 people dead in the Hudson River. I'm going to give you a brief summary about this, and then we'll talk about the Schumer article regarding this. So New York, a New York sightseeing helicopter broke apart in midair Thursday and crashed upside down into the Hudson River, killing the pilot and a family of 5 Spanish tourists in the latest U.S. aviation disaster, officials said. The victims included Siemens executive Agustin Escobar, his wife Merce Cambrupi, Montal, a global manager at an energy technology company, and 3 children, in addition to the pilot. A person briefed on the investigation told the Associated Press the person could not discuss details of the investigation publicly and spoke on condition of anonymity. All right, so that's the summary I'm going to give you. So that's heartbreaking. Imagine your worst nightmare. You know, I'm afraid to go. I've done zip lining, and I've done something close to bungee jumping. I'm kind of a risk taker, but helicopters scare me. Planes even scare me, even though I get in them. But my worst nightmare is a crash. Just heartbreaking. All right, so let's take a look at what this is. That says the helicopter tour company's clearance should be pulled after New York City crash. It says Schumer. I guess Schumer said it. Here is the summary of the article, and then I'm kind of give my take on it. New York Senator Chuck Schumer, if you don't know who he is, just Google his face. He's quite old. Is urging federal authorities to revoke the operating permits of New York helicopter tours after a crash killed 5 people from Spain and the pilot on Thursday. Schumer stated that the company should stop all flights during the National Transportation Safety Board's investigation. I'm going to just keep going. Sorry, I sneezed. He called for increased safety inspections by the Federal Aviation Administration, alleging that helicopter tour companies are cutting corners and putting profits over people. In response, the Eastern Region Helicopter Council claimed that Manhattan sightseeing choppers already operate under the most stringent of regulations. So, here's the deal. I don't know a whole lot about how private helicopter sightseeing companies work. I would think that they have to adhere to fairly strict safety regulations, but given the federal aviation cuts lately, the model is not exactly safety over money in the aviation world in general, and maybe that carries over into the corporate world. At the end of the day, we are seeing a lot more aviation issues. Now, this is unconfirmed because it was by my mother. When it happened, my mother said there was another aircraft involved, completely unconfirmed. I haven't seen that. If you do know, please put it in the comments. If you know more details about this crash, put it in the comments because there's been so much news. I definitely wanted to cover this. People should not be dying so frequently in crashes in this country. I know it seems like, what's that effect? If somebody tells you not to think of a pink elephant, you can't think of anything but a pink elephant. Well, since we started seeing plane crashes right after the cuts to air traffic control and the people in the flight towers, we saw plane crash after plane crash. It seemed like there was one every week. Is that because we're seeing pink elephants everywhere? No. This is not normal, folks. This is not normal to have this many crashes in the United States at all within this amount of time. There's a difference between correlation and causal correlation, and I'm no statistician, but we should really look at that. That's all I'm going to say on that. All right, what is next? Okay, the next thing that we are talking about is, give me a moment to find it. Okay, Peter Navarro denies tensions with Elon Musk after Musk calls him a moron. What else could we call Musk? Musk. Oh, there's so many words we could use. And you know what? I'm still getting used to YouTube's policies, and I don't want anything to happen to my video, but my son calls him a Yahtzee, and I do too, but I don't use Yahtzee. No offense to Yahtzee, you know what I mean. I'm sure I could say the word, but I'm not going to. I don't want to give it airtime. He only runs the Yahtzee platform. He holds the exact same ideology as actual Yahtzees. So, seems like if it looks like a duck, and I have ducks, I know. I have 3 ducks, and I know what they look like. I know what they sound like. I know what they walk like, and I know what they go like. And they don't look like Yahtzees, but you get the analogy. I'm a dork, I know. All right. So if you don't know who Peter Navarro is, Peter Navarro. Yeah, Peter Navarro. Let's find out, okay? I mean, I know who he is in a limited way, but I know not everybody is familiar with every single name involved in the headlines every single day. So let me give you a little summary. Let's see. It's just a wiki. He's an American economist who's been the senior counselor for Trump. He previously served in the first Trump administration, first as the director of the White House National Trade Council, then as the director of the Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy. He sought to overturn the 2020 presidential election and advance conspiracy theories of election fraud. Stand-up guy. Navarro's views on trade are significantly outside the mainstream of economic thought and are widely considered fringe by other economists. A strong proponent of reducing U.S. trade deficits, Navarro is well known for his hardline views on China, etc., etc. Okay, you kind of get the idea. All right, let's see what news we have about calling Trump a moron. Now, by the way, just to preface this, I have heard, I think they're more than rumors at this point, that the White House, the Trump administration is seeking to distance themselves from Elon Musk because he's a political liability at this point. In my opinion, he has shown himself to be not as smart as he reported himself to be. Also a liar. Also kind of an evil person. Obviously. Look what he's done with Doge. Look what he's done to hundreds of thousands of Americans. Jobs, benefits. Look what he's planning to do. Look at the things he said. And he wonders why people are upset with him. Well, the White House, Trump might not be, well, Trump is definitely not that smart. We always thought Musk was smart, and I'll agree, I was on board with that until I realized he didn't even start Tesla. He bought Tesla from some other, Tesla from some other people whose names I don't have in front of me right now because he erased them basically from history and touted it as his own. He has engineers designing things for him. Yes, he's smarter than Trump, but he's kind of self-aware, not self-aware. Also, I mean, the guy, he really makes people mad. So who is ever advising Trump, I know it must be a hard job, but hey, they signed up for it, they signed on, is probably saying you really need to distance yourself with your bromance. I know you watch TV together on the couch every night. You like to cuddle and rub each other's feet, but maybe it's time for the public to see a breakup. And by the way, as a special employee, he cannot serve more than a certain number of days, and that's up in May. So this relationship, as odd as it is, we knew had a shelf life. All right. So, of course, to the public, Trump and his cronies and his cabinet and his people have to deny any break in the ranks, any division, any disagreement they might have with Trump. Now, we know this because of J.D. Vance and the Signal leak where he did question in that chat Trump's decision-making on bombing the Houthis. So, but then we know Trump got mad at that behind closed doors. Trump does not like it when people go against him, especially people who are supposedly with him. So it's a united front as far as the public is concerned, but behind closed doors, it's a different issue. So let's take a look. It's the Huffington Post. Let's see. Peter Navarro skirts around beef with Elon Musk amid public spat over Trump's tariffs. The White House trade advisor denied drama between the two after being asked whether Musk had won their supposed rift. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro says that he and Elon Musk don't have an issue, quote unquote, after the tech billionaire slammed him as a moron, following a public spat over President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs. So, I'm confused. Did Elon call Navarro a moron? While appearing in NBC News Meet the Press on Sunday, host Kristen Welker asked Navarro if Musk, who has been publicly advocating for zero tariff trade deals, had won their supposed rift considering Trump's move to temporarily reduce tariffs on all countries with the exception of China. By the way, electronics like iPhones are exempt from even those tariffs. Insisted the sky-high tariffs were here to stay. I know, he keeps flipping and flopping. Everyone's confused. So first of all, Elon and I are great. This is Peter's quote. It's not an issue, Navarro began, before Welker countered. Even though he called you a moron? I guess Musk used the ever so eloquent wording as moron to describe somebody he should be aligned with, but oh, okay. And dumber than a sack of bricks. Oh, pot, me, kettle. I've been called worse. Everything's fine with Elon, Navarro continued. And look, Elon is doing a very good job with his team with waste, fraud, and abuse. Navarro went on to claim that no man who has made a tremendous contribution to America like Musk should be subject to having his cars firebombed by crazies or have to go to jail like I did. Well, first of all, let me be clear. I do not agree with firebombing Teslas. I mean, I understand why it's being done, but I am for peaceful protest. I don't think that doing anything that could damage people's property is good. That is not helping our cause. Peaceful protests. Yes, Tesla takedowns, but not violent Molotov cocktail throwing, vandalizing. That's not. That puts us, that's taking the low road. And I know it seems like we should be taking the low road because the other side takes such a low road. And maybe in some ways we need to stoop a little bit, but not to the point of violence and vandalism. However, again, the only thing I want to say about this is, look, there's breaks in the ranks. This is the start of the cracks, and let's hope the cracks continue. Let's encourage these cracks. Yes, they can say what they want, and by the way, Elon is doing a very good job. How anyone can say that with a straight face is beyond me, but apparently this guy sort of inherently agreed with what Elon was doing in the first place. One of few people, but okay. So that's that. That's what I have to say about that. If you have something to say about that, please say it in the comments. What is next? What is next is, I mean, this is sort of not news, but I'm just going to mention it. Most believe tariffs will benefit the wealthy. And it says, it's a poll. Hold on. Well, it's, hold on. Here we go. Got it. Well, don't got it. Sorry guys, bear with me. As my channel gets better, I'll get better at doing this. Most Americans say tariffs will benefit corporations, benefit corporations and the wealthy. Well, we knew that. It's a regressive tax. And here's the thing. The app is still making me, even though I pay for this app, and maybe you can, oh, it's a free account. Hold on. I still have to sign in. Okay, well, anyway, I'm not going to waste time on that. That's not even news. That's old news. Most people who know even an iota about economics, tariffs, the way that they're being done, are going to benefit the wealthy and regular old ass people like me, you, and most people we know are going to suffer. And yeah, there's a 90-day pause, but we're still tariffing though. It's 10%, I think, more than we have been. And I've made a whole post, and maybe I will cover it this week about global supply chains and how they work, and how buying American is a great idea in some cases, and we understand that the sentiment behind wanting to support U.S. workers and U.S. companies, it's not always the most logical thing to do. So I'll cover that later. Yes, it's regressive tax system. These tariffs are going to benefit the wealthy in the end. Okay? Let me get to my next thing here, because that was difficult to look at. Like physically difficult for me to look at. I'm going to have to... I wanted to do this blind, and this is blind, because I pulled up the headlines that I wanted to cover, but turns out sometimes I can't quite look at them as quickly as I want. Okay, the next one. Trump optimistic on reaching deal with China. Sorry, with China. I hate to do that to China. White House says, Caroline Levitt, I can't stand that woman. She makes me want to throw things at my TV every time I see her and hear her speak. She is... I can't tell if she believes what comes out of her mouth or if she's just such a good liar. I don't know. But she's vile. Absolutely vile. And so rude to people. People who have so much more experience and credentials than she does. She puts them down. I'm not answering your question. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. When honestly, she's the one that ought to be ashamed of herself for doing what she does, being the mouthpiece for Trump's idiocy, cruelty, doubling down on it every day. Caroline Levitt announced Friday that President Trump is open to a trade deal with China. Escalating trade tensions spurred by Trump's tariff policies have battered markets between the two economic giants. Trump's administration increased tariffs, some reaching 145%, while China retaliated by raising tariffs on U.S. imports to 125%, as we would imagine they would. Trump cited China's lack of respect. What's this about respect? Trump, you don't respect anyone. Why should they respect you? Trump cited China's lack of respect and added 20% fentanyl tariff, Levitt said. The president is open to a deal with China. Despite Trump's optimism and openness to a deal, neither leader has initiated trade talks as the trade war continues. All right. What's going on with China? Honestly, I don't know, and I intend to find out more, but we've always had interesting relationships with China. Tense, and non-tense, depending on what's happening and what we're talking about. I am just going to say, of course he's open to a deal with China because we get a lot of things from China that we really do need. And again, global supply chains. However, there are some very negative things about a possible deal with China. All I will say is my livelihood, my income comes from China. I am a teacher. I am an independent contractor at this point, but I used to be a W-2 employee. But I teach students in China, anybody from little kids to high school students. I have a teaching degree, I'm a teacher, and I teach online. So when it comes to China, I can step back and have perspective about, I don't hate China, but I do know that there are pros and cons to how we deal with China, and there are definitely more positive things we could be doing, and anything Trump does tends to be the absolute worst decision. I'm going to look into this more because it is very complicated. Please put your opinion on that in the comments. And, I don't think we should be starting trade wars with our allies, like Canada. I don't think we should be trying to start trade wars with Mexico or a bunch of penguins on McDonald Island. The penguins didn't do anything. I just don't think that's conducive at all, but the penguins have been covered. I just have to mention them because those poor penguins don't deserve that. And they're smarter than he is anyway. I don't know if anybody remembers a sort of an adult comic book called Bloom County, and the main character was not a penguin, but a puffin named Opus. And I read it when I was maybe 10 or 11 or 12, and Donald Trump was featured quite a bit in that, and that was a very long time ago. I'm talking late 80s, early 90s. And I remember wondering, who in the world is this Donald Trump? Apparently he's some rich guy that, and I even understood then, Bloom County, or the comic was making fun of So, people in the know, political cartoonists have been knowing exactly that Trump was who he was for a very long time. All right, that's it for that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, I'm not going to cover this much. This is about Bill Maher, and I know a lot of people have covered this. He's a comedian. He's very rich. He's a talk show host. He's traditionally liberal, but he hasn't really grown with the Democratic Party as it is now. And a lot of people on the left like him. However, he fell for it. He went to the White House, he visited the White House, and he was completely taken in. Who's that guy? Bill Maher says. President Donald Trump was almost unrecognizable in person during the White House private dinner. In short, Bill Maher dined privately with Trump, finding him warm and candid. Trump was humorous and self-aware, surprising Maher. That would shock the hell out of me. I've never found a darn thing that Trump says to be funny, and I know people find him funny. I know a lot of, the people that find him funny, I don't, their sense of humor and mine are not in the same sphere whatsoever. Maher got Trump to sign a list of past insults with good humor. So, by the way, comedian Bill Maher has been roasting Donald Trump on HBO, Real Time with Bill Maher. But here's the thing. Maybe he was MAGA curious, or maybe he was just conned. Like, when you meet a celebrity that you really didn't feel a certain way about until you got a chance to have them sign something in real life, and then you're just all starry-eyed, and I don't know. It happened to be when I was a teenager, I guess. Maybe Bill Maher got starstruck, or maybe he got conned. We all know Donald Trump is a con man. He's been a con man his whole life. Ask Mary Trump. And also, a lot of people are saying Bill Maher was used so that Trump could prop up a liberal as liking him and finding him warm, funny, and respectful. But take a step back and look at who Trump is and what he's done. January 6th ought to have been the line in the sand for anybody if the line in the sand wasn't way before that. The cruelty that he unleashes on a daily basis, the contempt that he has for the military, and it is contempt for military members, and I'll get into that on another day, but just take a look at how he handled the dignified transfer of those dead soldiers. He went golfing, didn't really mention it. He didn't even know they had died. He could care less. I think it's could care less. Some people say couldn't care less. He doesn't give a flying fuck about the military. And my son is in the U.S. Army, and I take that very personally. He has contempt for the Constitution. He tried to overturn a fair election. He unleashes cruelty. He's a racist. He touts himself to be a Christian while making comments about women that are disgusting. He was found civilly liable of sexual assault. He has been recorded making comments about walking into beauty pageant contestants' dressing rooms to see their bodies and making the excuse that he owned the place or owned the pageant, and that's on recording. He's a disgusting human being. You can't break bread with this person. There's no giving him a little bit, just seeing, who he is and what he's about, and maybe we could come together. No, that time has long since passed. That is not going to happen. You don't need to meet with him. You're not Zelensky. You're not a world leader. You don't need to meet just because Kid Rock suggested it as a publicity stunt. It's disgusting. We don't need to do that. No. All right, that's all I have to say about that. Put your opinion about that in the comments. And I think I've got one more thing here. Measles. So, Here, I'm going to read this real quick, and then I'm going to give you my take, because I just had to explain this to my 10-year-old son. So there's a measles outbreak in West Texas. The measles outbreak in West Texas didn't happen just by chance. The easily preventable disease, declared eliminated in the U.S. in 2000, ripped through communities sprawling across more than 20 Texas counties, in part because health departments were starved of the funding needed to run vaccine programs, officials say. We haven't had a strong immunization program that can really do a lot of boots-on-the-ground work for years. That was a cat fighting with another cat, but everybody's okay now. Says Catherine Wells, the health director in Lubbock, a 90-minute drive from the outbreak's epicenter. Immunization programs nationwide have been left brittle by years of stagnant funding by federal, state, and local governments. In Texas and elsewhere, this helped set the stage for the measles outbreak and fueled its spread. Now cuts to federal funding threaten efforts to prevent more cases and outbreaks. Health departments got an influx of cash to deal with COVID-19, but it wasn't enough to make up for years of neglect. On top of that, trust in vaccines has eroded. Health officials warn the situation is primed to get worse. Measles is a deadly disease that attacks children. Children. And because so many people have made the boogeyman out of vaccines, there's so much scientific evidence. The whole vaccines cause autism has been debunked over and over and over. But we've got such an anti-science bend on in a certain population of this country that they actually bought into this vaccines are bad for you bullshit. And now their children are dying. This campaign of misinformation, Trump doesn't care. The administration doesn't care. They don't care about us. The goal is to inflict pain. They don't care about human life. It's just sad. And they greenlit and sane-washed, I guess, to borrow a term from Tennessee Brando, this anti-vax nonsense, and now measles has come back. What's next? I hate saying something like that. I shall knock on wood. All right. So that's going to conclude my little, what did I call it? Political headlines of the week. And you know what? The channel is just kind of getting started. I was doing reality TV recaps a few years ago. Then I really started within my activism even more than ever within the past several months. And I want to take the channel in that direction. And yes, I know there are a lot of people that are probably more qualified or more well-spoken than I am with bigger platforms that are also doing this. But, you know, I'm going to do my own thing here anyway. And maybe I'll reach an audience that doesn't see some of those other people. Midas Touch, you know, is great. They are awesome. Adam Mockler's awesome. Tennessee Brando, Mary Trump. I just got David Pakman's book, The Echo Machine, and I plan to do a review of it. If I finish it this week, I will. So far, it's really good. So, if you could, leave a comment. I would love it. Leave an emoji. If you got this far in the video, leave, let's see, what should you leave? Leave a fire emoji. Or leave a blue heart or something. Comment on any of the things I said. Hey, feel free to disagree. Try to keep it civil. If you don't, if it's too horrible, I'll delete your comment. I don't mind criticism. But, you know, be nice to each other. And if you want my social media information, I believe in my channel description I included my link tree. I am on TikTok, on Instagram, Blue Sky. I'm on Twitter. I don't call it X, but I don't share that because I only go there to lurk to see what Musk and Trump are spouting. That's it. And I'm on Facebook. So I hope you enjoyed this, and you will be seeing more of me. Please give me a subscribe and a like. I think I already said that. And until next upload, I will see you. Then have a lovely week. Try to laugh, try to have fun, and try to stay informed. Bye.